Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Direct Snap. I'm Connor Groel, your host for the show, back and live from my dorm room and quite possibly the most crowded desk in the Western Hemisphere. Got a show on Friday night today. I'm very excited to bring it to you and very excited for this weekend. Got through a eventful couple days for me, but now I am ready and I am back to talk about some football. It is NFL Week 13. We are finally past all of the bye weeks, and now this is the final stretch. We got 5 weeks. We got a ton of teams still in these playoff wild card hunts, a lot of active division races, and this is the put up or shut up time. Only a couple weeks left in the season, and if you're going to make the playoffs, it's your time to do something about it right now with these final 5 games. So today, as always, we're going to start off talking about some headlines, and then we're going to look at this playoff picture as we head into, or rather continue, Week 13 after the Cowboys take down the Saints yesterday on Thursday Night Football. Head into the Power Rankings Week 13 predictions and some questions at the end. Questions can be on anything you want them to be about once we get there. But I'm going to head right into it right now, into our headlines. And of course, we got to talk about the Thursday Night Football game, the Saints' 10-game winning streak. I already mentioned it. Goes down to the hands of the Cowboys, 13-10, pretty crazy. And it is, kind of tough for me to structure these shows when I'm supposed to be bringing them to you on Wednesday. But a couple times, in the last month or so, we've had to move them to Friday. We're actually going to skip talking about Cowboys-Saints for a moment because as I check ESPN, we have some breaking news. The Chiefs have released running back Kareem Hunt. Now, obviously, if you have not seen the story, earlier today, TMZ did release a video from a hotel earlier this year with Kareem Hunt. I have not seen the video myself, but from what I've heard, it's him kicking a young woman. Clearly, some kind of assault situation, and the NFL has had more than enough issues with domestic violence. And I'm going to wait to, give my strong opinions, because if it is what it seems to be, I will have strong opinions about it until I see the video. But I do applaud the Chiefs for making this decision to put, what is right and do the right thing over what will be the best for their football team, because obviously Kareem Hunt is a star in this league. Just in his second season already over 2,000 total rushing yards and nearly 3,000 total scrimmage yards. They are one of the best teams in the league. But obviously we can't tolerate any of this domestic violence crap that seems to keep going on because guys can't learn to keep their hands to themselves. But anyways, so I just got that as breaking news. Wanted to bring that to you. The Chiefs have released Kareem Hunt. And as more information becomes available, I'm sure I'll try to provide some updates. I'm trying to read through some tweets at the moment. Let's see. Now here's the issue. I'm on Benjamin Albright's Twitter. This is a guy I am not familiar with, but he does have the check mark on Twitter, who says that with 100% certainty from several sources he has, that both the Chiefs and the league knew about the existence of the Kareem Hunt video prior to the release from TMZ and did nothing about it. And so I would, like to almost immediately backtrack on everything I did just say about the NFL and the Chiefs finally handling one of these situations correctly. Man, really, again, we're doing this again. And this just, the cover-ups going on in every level of sports. If you want to talk about this, if you want to talk USA Gymnastics, you want to talk about all the stuff going on in college basketball, once again, over and over again, people prove that the desire to win and the desire to cover things up is greater than morality, is greater than doing the right thing in the first place, is more important than just being decent human beings. And it's difficult to watch this keep happening over and over again. And again, it's tough for me to prove whether or not anyone saw the video or if they actually did. I'm just taking now several people's words for it as I continue to investigate this on the fly. But every time one of these major events happens, there is a public outrage, and rightfully so. And we talk so much about how the culture within sports needs to change, and how we need to get the right people in power and people in right positions, and we need to stop forgiving offenders and giving them second chances and turning a blind eye. But it just seems to keep happening over and over again with little or no changes being made. And if the NFL and the Chiefs did know about this for a while, I mean, it just sucks. It really sucks. Because it's bigger than football, and it's bigger than Kareem Hunt and the Chiefs and his all-star season and whatever. But I don't know. I'm not going to spend the entire hour or however long I'll be on the night talking about this, so I will try to move on. But thanks for the comment, Grammy. Again, I don't know all the information. I was aware that a Kareem Hunt story had broken earlier today, but I have not had the time to really investigate it. And I will do some more research on this afterwards, but I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to watch the same thing keep happening over and over again. And you can say, I mean, it's good that Kareem Hunt has been released now. Who knows? Maybe the Redskins will just pick him up again like they did with Reuben Foster. Didn't add that to the show, but I mean, I could talk for another 10 minutes about the Reuben Foster situation, and it's the same thing over and over and over again. And the Redskins released some kind of, well, I read it. You can find it there. Press release when they did pick up Reuben Foster off the waivers, the only team that claimed him, saying, they're going to conduct their own investigation, blah, blah, blah. And, he'll have to earn his spot on the field, whatever. And, it seems pretty shallow given that organization's history and given the fact that, I don't know, anybody can seem to do whatever they want. I don't know. And I don't want to draw Colin Kaepernick, parallels, but, domestic violence is far worse than I think Colin Kaepernick's ever done. And I'm going to leave it at that and move on to Cowboys and the Saints. So Cowboys again on Thursday night, they played the Saints. Saints have won 10 in a row. The only game they dropped was their first game of the season to the Buccaneers. And, they've been absolutely, high-powered offense, scoring what is it? I don't know, 34 points a game or something around there. Just light it up. And Drew Brees was and still is my pick for MVP of the league right now. But the Saints get blanked in the first half against Dallas. Dallas goes up a quick 10-0 in the first quarter, quick 13-0 by halftime. And this is one of those games where I saw, who did I say say this? Elliot Harrison of NFL.com, said, in light of, the Chiefs-Rams 54-51 game, and everyone talking about, this is the new NFL, and, teams are just going to score 40 points, and you have to have the craziest offense in the league to win, whatever. That this is a game that shows you that defense can still be fun to watch because you have, Drew Brees, and Drew Brees only throws for 127 yards, a touchdown, and an interception because he's pressured all night by the Cowboys. And, the offensive lines are just so underrated because you see so many quarterbacks, whether it was Russell Wilson the last couple seasons, I'll say Eli Manning, although I know he's not a great quarterback, even in this case Drew Brees, Andrew Luck, so many guys. Derek Carr this year, who has, just been completely, feels like he's sacked every other time he drops back. Offensive lines are so important, and the Cowboys have had a solid offensive line, and I've never thought Dak Prescott was particularly great as a quarterback. I think he's pretty average at best. But offensive lines went out, and the Saints couldn't really do much of anything on offense. They tried to put back together a little bit of a comeback, got it back down to 13-10 at the end of the third quarter, but that ended up being the final score. And the Cowboys, how about them? Moving up to 7-5. They beat the Redskins last week to tie the Redskins for first place in the NFC. So now with this win, their fourth consecutive win. They are first place alone, at least for the next couple days in the division. And they look pretty good. And let's see. So it's 7-5, the remaining schedule. Eagles, Colts, Bucks, Giants. There's no there's not one really scary game there. The Colts at Colts is probably the hardest game, but 4 very winnable games for the Cowboys, and 9-7 might be enough to do it, but 10-6, you have to figure they definitely will win the division and get in the playoffs. So good for them. For the Saints, actually, it does change some things. The Saints are not in any danger of losing the NFC South. But they do lose control of home field advantage, actually, because now the Rams are at 1 loss. And despite the fact that the Saints did beat the Rams, the Saints are now at 2 losses, which means if the Rams lose out, Rams will have the 1 seed, and that could be very important come playoff time. Thanks to everyone that's tuning in over the past few minutes or so. Have not. The Cowboys did try to give it away, and I know there's been a lot of controversial refereeing, especially on the late first down. But I don't know. My thoughts on refereeing is, you can get mad at the referees every single game, because the Giants got hosed last week too, with Odell Beckham in late in that game in the end zone, got held a couple times. You can get mad at the refs every game, or you can just realize that, sometimes it's going to go your way, sometimes it's not. And I don't think the refs, you can ever say in any sport really that the refs are ever the cause for victory, because, you could have always been better in so many other moments of the game. I know calls were bad, but, what are you going to do about it? So we haven't talked about too much. This is still just the first headline. I spent the first, 5-10 minutes talking about the Kareem Hunt situation with the Chiefs and trying to learn some more about that as I go along. But, you did miss, Kareem Hunt with the domestic violence, and the video from TMZ today has been released by the Chiefs. But however, the reports suggest that both the league and the Chiefs knew about this beforehand. And, as we've seen so many times, kind of turned a blind eye for a bit, which is, completely unacceptable. All right, let's talk about some more things. All right, quarterback troubles and quarterback carousels. Mainly talking about this with regards to the Jaguars. The Jaguars have finally made the decision that Jaguars fans have kind of been hoping for, I think, for the better part of 3 or 4 years, which is that the team has decided to bench Blake Bortles in favor of Cody Kessler. Cody Kessler was a guy, he started some games for the Browns. What was it, 2 years ago, I believe? And I'm not sure if he's actually a first year in the Jaguars or if he was around last season, but he's a guy, I mean, you can't read into the situation of them deciding to bench Blake Bortles you can't read into it anything other than the Jaguars are in full, blow everything up panic mode. They've lost 7 games in a row. They thought they were going to win a Super Bowl this year. Jalen Ramsey said before the year that they were going to go 16-0, and now they look hopeless, and they haven't won a game since September. So, obviously they're a wreck at the moment, and Blake Bortles has been bad, and they're just trying to change something, anything, to find anything positive. But I do think Cody Kessler is – it's tough to say about a guy that I believe is 0-7 in his career as a starter, but hey, that's what happens when you're a Browns quarterback. But I think he did have good moments and flashes of being better than a lot of the other Browns quarterbacks, and I am looking forward to see what he'll do. I don't think he'll be a game changer or anything like that. But I do think, he gets another chance, and, we'll see what he can do. Blake Bortles, I don't know what this means for him. I really don't. He's at the end of that first contract. Will he be a starting quarterback in the league next year? If I'm betting, I don't think so. But who knows? But moving on, we also have some other things. Lamar Jackson has 2-0 for the Ravens, which spells a lot of trouble for Joe Flacco. His time as a starter in Baltimore is probably over. Moving on to the injuries, actually. Colt McCoy played his first full start for the Redskins, lost on Thanksgiving to the Cowboys. Now the Redskins look like they're in a pretty, we'll say, not great spot. They're still holding on to the 6th seed in the NFC at the moment, but I don't know. It's going to be a tough road to the playoffs for them. Chase Daniel looks like he'll get the start against the Giants. Giants catching a little bit of a break there. Mitch Trubisky is still out. Lingering, a shoulder injury for Mitch Trubisky. So we got a lot of uncertainty with quarterback situations, and I'm sure I'm probably missing 1 or 2 other ones. But some things up in the air for sure. Thanks for tuning into the show, Brian. We're going to talk about Phillip Rivers now, setting the NFL record for consecutive completions in one game. He opened 25 for 25. That's right, 25 for 25. And they were playing the Cardinals, the worst team in the league, and they did beat them up like they were supposed to, but 28 for 29 for 259 and 3 touchdowns. The final totals for Phillip Rivers in a 45-10 victory. Phillip Rivers has always been one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the league. And it's funny because, yeah, Sanchez with the Redskins too. Wow, yeah. Crazy how some guys can get jobs, huh? But for Phillip Rivers, always been one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the league, I think. His team's not always been there. He's had a lot of years where the Chargers go 5-11, but they lose every game by a field goal. Or they just, I remember, was the last year they had Younghoe Koo, and he missed like a game-winning field goal in week 1, a game-winning field goal in week 2, and I forget the guy they signed after that, but he missed a couple game-winning field goals. They've changed kickers this year. One of those teams like the Bucks, just can't find a kicker to save their lives and lose a ton of close ones. And Philip Rivers is definitely playing himself into the MVP talks. I mean, he's over 3,100 yards, 26 touchdowns, 6 picks, 70% completions. He's having, by any measure, a phenomenal season. The funny thing is, though, you can say that about so many quarterbacks, and this year is really just a year of quarterbacks are doing crazy things. Matt Ryan is even having a great year, but he's 4-7, so he doesn't stand a chance at the MVP. But you have Mahomes, obviously, and Drew Brees, and Goff, and Rivers, and Andrew Luck is having a fantastic season, and Matt Ryan, and you have so many quarterbacks that are putting up numbers that are, could potentially be MVP in some of their seasons. A lot of these guys probably could have won MVP last season. But, this is the year of the offensive explosion, minus that Cowboys-Saints Thursday nighter. And the Chargers, in my opinion, actually has this factor in with the Chiefs losing Kareem Hunt. I don't think this makes the Chargers the favorites in the AFC, but they're definitely my number 2 right now. I am really, really high on the Chargers, which is a shame because they don't have any fans. But another game that happened last week, the Browns playing the Bengals, and obviously the Browns midway through the season, they fired Hugh Jackson. Hugh Jackson signs almost immediately back on with the Cincinnati Bengals. So this was a little bit of revenge for making our franchise horrible for a couple of seasons for Hugh Jackson. And the Browns just absolutely manhandled them. The final score, it wasn't the biggest blowout. Was it 35-20, I believe, as I pull it up? Because that's how we fly on the show. We pull up stats as we talk about things. But 35-20 does not quite describe the blowout this game was. Baker Mayfield, 4 touchdowns. The Browns went up 28-0 in the second quarter, and then they were on cruise control from then on out. And, it doesn't really matter. Oh, that's right. Right, when I was talking about the quarterbacks, I knew I was missing one. The Bengals. Andy Dalton goes out for the season in that game. So now the Bengals are super banged up at quarterback. Their starting quarterback now is Jeff Driscoll, who has never made a start in the NFL. He's a third-year guy out of Louisiana Tech. Again, he's been with the Bengals his last few seasons, learning the system, whatever. And, everybody knows he could be 50 years old and still be learning the same system because Marvin Lewis is never going to get fired. Hopefully he does this year, but, who knows. So the Bengals now are really banged up in the quarterback position. And who is now going to be the backup for Jeff Driscoll? All right, it's Tom Savage, isn't it? So the Savage comes back. And just 2 quarterbacks on the roster right now for the Bengals. All right, where was I? So I keep going back and forth on a lot of things. Right, the best moment from this game. Hi, Mom. Thanks for tuning in. Had to have been Demarius Randall interception. He picks off Andy Dalton, who had like 3 interceptions or something. And he straight up gives the ball to Hugh Jackson on the sidelines. Like, what a bird. It's fantastic. Love that. And I love the Browns. The Browns look good again. The Browns this year have done fantastic at looking horrible and then great and then back and forth and back and forth. I think Baker Mayfield is really a star in the making, and I love his confidence, and I love how outspoken he is. I just love Baker Mayfield, which is tough for me to say because I hated him last year because he's Oklahoma. Shout out to the Red River Rivalry Part 2 for the Big 12 championship coming up tomorrow. Let's go, Texas. College football playoff committee is not necessarily the biggest fans of the Longhorns. Jesus, 14. But this would be a fantastic way to get ourselves into a New Year's Six bowl and officially put that stamp that Texas is back. Keep losing track of myself today. What are we doing? But yep, so the Browns with the big win and bright things ahead, I think, for them, although they are in a pretty tough division. You're the big winning streak. I think this is just something I've kind of noticed as this year has progressed. I feel like so many teams have been able to rattle off massive winning streaks this season. You know, what was it? The Rams had like 7 or 8 to start the season, as did the Chiefs. The Steelers went on like a 6-game win streak, I believe, before losing last week. The Chargers had like a 6-game win streak going before they lost to the Broncos. How about the Broncos last 2 weeks, taking on the Chargers and the Steelers? The Colts are on a 5-game win streak. The Texans are on an 8-game winning streak. The Cowboys are on a 4-game winning streak. The Bears are on a 5-game winning streak. The Saints were on a 10-game winning streak. Just feels like a ton of just really long win streaks this season. And I don't know. I guess I don't have the context to know if that is. The Bills are on a 2-game winning streak. Everybody, the Bills. I don't know. I guess I don't have the context to know if this is something rare, but it feels to me like we just have a lot of big winning streaks this season. That's just a thing I have noticed. But those are our headlines for Week 13. Again, took a little longer than maybe I had planned. But regardless, we're going to head into the playoff picture and show you guys what's up first in the NFC and how it looks right now. So our division winners, our 1 seed is the Rams. Our 2 seed is the Saints. The Bears at the 3. The Cowboys at the 4. The Vikings, loving the fact that they got that tie against the Packers because that puts them ahead of a pile at 6-5. The Redskins, the Seahawks, and the Panthers, and I don't know all the tie breaks, but apparently the Redskins have it right now at 6-5 over the Seahawks and the Panthers. And the Seahawks just beat the Panthers last week, so the Panthers started out at 6-2, but 3 consecutive losses sends them down to 8 right now. That's the Browns, Sumitra. The Browns have also won 2 in a row. A round of applause for the Browns. Oh, man. It's fantastic. And by the way, talking about the Browns, I'll show you my power rankings and what the hell, we'll do it now. We'll go back, but the Eagles and the Browns are next to each other in the power rankings, ladies and gentlemen. Browns and the Eagles are next to each other. That is the defending Super Bowl champions at 20 and a team that did not win a game last season at 21. So, hey, Browns. All right, backtrack a little bit. Back to the NFC playoff picture. I'm having a lot of fun tonight. I don't know why. But it's a good thing. Having a lot of fun. So, yeah, we got our NFC playoff picture. And so, obviously, the Saints are up 3.5 in the South, and the Rams are up 4 in the West. And I got the money on, especially the Vikings schedule. This whole season has just felt brutal to me. Just brutal. Chucky not doing too hot. But I don't know. He's got a 10-year, $100 million contract. So I think Chucky's doing fine. Maybe not so much for the Raiders. Different story there. So I'm banking on the Bears to win in the North. I don't think that one's going to be too difficult for them. Then the NFC East, still a 3-team race. The Giants are now I'm going to call the Giants out of it now, unfortunately, because, well, they are at 3-8. But still a 3-team race, I think. I think the Eagles are still very much alive, especially playing the Redskins this week. They can move into second place, just a game behind the boys. And, yeah, they do play the boys. Yeah, they do play the boys one more time. So, Eagles still very much alive in this division. I do find it funny. Everyone's making these jokes about how bad the NFC East is. The NFC East is the only division in the NFC with 3 5-win teams. Obviously, overall, it's not fantastic, but it's not awful. I mean, look at the NFC West with a couple 2-9 teams. You think the Rams are having a tough time there? I don't think so. I don't think so. All right, what do we got here? So, yeah, I like the Cowboys to take the NFC is probably the favorites just naturally because they're up a game and a half on the Eagles. The Redskins just lost their quarterback. The Cowboys look amazing right now. So I'll take the Cowboys. We'll pencil them in, not quite the Sharpie or the pen, but, we'll pencil them in. All right. Well, how about an erasable pen? We will put in the Cowboys for the NFC East in erasable ink to show a moderate level of certainty. But as far as the wild cards go, I think my favorites for the wild card are the Seahawks, because I think I love the Seahawks the last couple weeks. I love what they've been doing. Big win over the Panthers to get them that tiebreaker. And I think I might, I might as well just take the Eagles, because I do think they'll beat the Redskins. And if they do, they're going to be 6-6. And I got to look up. Too much going on. Have the Eagles played the Panthers this season? They definitely have, right? Oh, they lost that game. Well, this changes things. Without a tiebreak against the Panthers and a difficult schedule coming up, Cowboys, Rams. Well, played the Redskins twice, and Cowboys, Rams, Texans. On second thought, the Eagles' schedule is tough. I have used that pen, Mom. I don't know why you feel like this is the time to be asking these questions. I love the way the pen feels. And Brian, if you're here, thanks for making me read an article about 100 pens. That was a great way to kill a night. But I like the feel of the pen. The way the pen writes, probably because it's an erasable pen, and now we are totally off topic, but whatever, my show. The way the pen writes, the ink is very, and I think it's because it's an erasable pen, the ink is not very strong, if that makes sense. Sometimes I'd have to go over my lines a couple times and they're really beyond there. So it doesn't write too well. I know. It's because I said erasable ink. But as much as I like the pen, and I really do like the pen, if it were, maybe if it wasn't erasable, and honestly, and I know it's a big perk, but I think when you do erasable pens, you take a lot away from the quality of the ink, naturally. But if it was that kind of pen, and the 3 color chambers, and just that same pen, and it wasn't erasable, I feel like I would probably use it all the time. But honestly, I can't really see myself using it too much. Thanks for my 6 people watching on Facebook, me talking about pens. That's what you tuned in for, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I don't know. Nice joke, Sumitra. Nice joke. I mean, if you want to think on the bright side, we have Saquon Barkley, and we already have as many wins this year as we did last year. I don't know. Finished at 5 or 6 maybe, and I don't know, get a new quarterback. By the way, I still think Eli Manning is underrated by the people that think he's the worst quarterback ever. It's so tough. Ultimately, I think his whole career he's been basically average. But I think he's still better than a lot of people think he is right now. But I do agree next season will be the time for change. Can we get back on track? I think we can. So I'm going to say the Seahawks and the Panthers are the wild cards in the NFC. I'm kicking out the Redskins because Colt McCoy proved me wrong. I'm kicking out the Eagles because their schedule looks tough. And no love for Aaron Rodgers. This is not the year, man. I do love how just sarcastic Aaron Rodgers and I don't know, wry he is when in that press conference. Hey, Aaron, what do the Packers have to do to make the playoffs? And Aaron Rodgers says, well, got Arizona at home this week. Can we beat them? And Falcons come into town. They're a good team, but I think we're a better team, so we beat them. And travel to Chicago. That's a place we've won a lot of times. Beat them. Head over to New York, play the Jets. Should get a win there. Come back home, Lions, Detroit, and beat them. So I just love how he is like so fed up with like the Packers organization, it feels like, and fed up with everyone asking him stupid questions. And I don't know. Say what you want about Aaron Rodgers if you like him or you don't. But he's funny. He's a funny guy. Yes, Eli faces are the best faces. Can confirm. Let's get off this slide. Playoff picture in the AFC. How about that AFC West? I mean, good luck, everybody. Only one wild card spot to play for when you got two teams this good. Poor Broncos. Stuck playing them 4 times a year. And once again, the Patriots have a walk in the park in their division. And it's funny because these teams, 5-win Dolphins, 4-win Bills, 3-win Jets. I think the Jets at 3 wins is probably pretty fair. But like the Dolphins and the Bills, I think are like overperforming. Like that's how bad I think this division is. In my preseason power rankings, I don't even remember what I had. Did I literally have these teams as 30, 31, and 32? I might have. If not, they were all definitely both, or all in the bottom, like 5 or 6. But yeah, these teams are garbage. Like, don't come at me with these. We've won like 16 divisions in 17 years. Like, when has anyone ever been good? The Jets like 2 years because they had a defense with Rex Ryan, I guess. Like, when have you ever thought like the Patriots might lose it this year? Like, never. So Tom Brady can play until he's 45. If Tom Brady was playing in the AFC West, he would have retired already. Hot take. So what do we got here? Texans have won 8 in a row, and no one knows how. No one particularly thinks they're that amazing, although they did have a great game against the Titans. Starting to come around on the Texans, even though it feels like I pick against them, at least on the spread every week. But time to acknowledge the Texans are good, I think. I think it's time to acknowledge that 8 in a row. Patriots is going to win that division. Texans going to win this division, although the Colts could make it interesting for sure. But, if that's the case, then, well, your 2 wild cards are just going to be second in the AFC West and second in the AFC South, and then we'll be done with it. So we got, I think pretty comfortable locking in 5 teams for the playoffs. Steelers. Steelers probably not going to get caught, I wouldn't think. Patriots, Texans, Chiefs, Chargers. So this is one where we have the massive race. Because take out the Bills, but I think we have, what was that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Yeah, 7 teams that can reasonably win this wild card. And the Browns are a little of a tougher sell, but can the Browns go 8-7-1? Yeah. And then, who knows? Who knows? Maybe no one hits 9 wins. Or maybe the Browns win all 5 games. I don't know. It'll be very difficult, but they do have that spurt ability, I believe, to just go on have a win streak. Let's see. Too much Patriots smack talk. It hurts my eyes. All right, so who are the likely contenders here? I think obviously the Colts. The Ravens, I don't know. I'm still not like super sold on Lamar Jackson, but he's had a good start. The Bengals, it's not going to be the Bengals, I'll tell you that much. Wow. The Broncos are another strong contender. I think out of this whole list of wildcard teams, that's 7 I just named, I think the only 3 I'm giving like a real solid chance are the Ravens, the Colts, and the Broncos. And other teams can surprise me, but I will be pretty surprised if it's anyone other than those 3. All right, let's head into the power rankings. Let's keep the train moving. Peyton's a little more than a decent quarterback. Eli is decent. Look, I don't care. Blake Bortles isn't winning 2 rings. I'm done with this, man, some of these quarterback rankings you see on the internet, really tear this guy to shreds. Eli Manning is not the 28th best quarterback in the league. Let's be real. I mean, come on. You got Cody Kessler's a starter. Colt McCoy is a starter. You got Josh Rosen's quarterback in a team. Josh Allen's quarterback in a team. Sam Darnold's quarterback in a team. Lamar Jackson's quarterback in a team. Now you got Jeff Driscoll's quarterback in a team. That is off the top of my head 7 NFL starting quarterbacks that Eli is definitively better than, right now. There's probably a couple more if I think about it. I think Eli's kind of permanently been around 20 the last 5 years or so. But funny, this statistically is one of the best years of his career. Just not a lot of touchdowns. But he's done pretty well to keep the interceptions down. He's throwing 70%, averaging 280 yards a game or something. It's been pretty great, but their red zone efficiency has just been awful. Let's see if there's any more. Yeah, I mean, if you consider that Chase Daniel's a starting quarterback for the time being, Eli's better than Chase Daniel. Who the 49ers got? Wow, why am I blanking on that guy's name? The new kid, Eli's better than that guy. Nick Mullins. Yeah, Eli's better than Nick Mullins. So, I've quietly just named you 10 quarterbacks Eli's better than right now. And I mean, you can do whatever you want to say otherwise, but I mean, I don't think so. I don't think any of those guys are better than Eli Manning. I mean, Derek Carr, probably better, and he's got at least a brighter future, but he hasn't been better this season. Come on. That's about enough of that. I actually show you some power rankings. I hinted at it earlier in the show, but let's actually okay, you don't have to say anything about the Patriots getting lucky in Super Bowls. The Edelman catch in the last one against the Falcons? That's ridiculous. What was it, the Gronkowski catch and the one before that? And you're lucky you had Adam Vinatieri, and I don't know. If we can get lucky, look. If the Giants got lucky in 2 Super Bowls, the Patriots got lucky in 3 or 4. So whatever. That Edelman catch is seriously one of the most unbelievable things I've ever seen in my life. Straight up. Here's some power rankings for you. The bottom hasn't changed because all these teams keep on losing in horrific fashion. It's a great intro. Jaguars moved down 3 because they're awful. Seriously, what the heck happened to these guys? It's unbelievable. Giants moved down 1 because they decided to choke against the Eagles and refs and Saquon Barkley, and I don't know. The fact that their play calling is just way too conservative. The Giants get up 3 points and Pat Shurmur's all right, guys, let's lock it down, as if we're not going to allow 20 points in the second half like we always do. Whatever. I guess good for the Bills, they beat the Niners. Good for the Bucks, they beat the Niners, and good for the Bills, they beat the Jags. But whatever. Yeah, this is the most I don't know. I mean, you're right, Brian. I'm just going through this show with without a care in the world. And I don't know particularly why, but it's just how I feel at the moment. Jeez. Yeah, the Bengals moved down 6 because have you seen them in the last 2 months after that 4-1 start? Can I just do this for every team? Just make some incredibly blunt but true statement about every team and just move on. I don't know. The Browns are doing good. Yep, 2 wins in a row. Why not? Let's reprise that clap for the Browns. Yay, Browns! Eagles, I don't know. This was a pity move up 2 spots. I mean, they deserve to win the game. They totally stole it from us. And when the Giants kicked the field goal to tie it up with like 6 minutes left, I told my dad, the game's over. Like the Giants aren't gonna. The way the Eagles have been running the football, the Giants won't touch it again, and the Eagles will just kick a field goal, win it. And they did. They kicked a field goal and they gave the Giants like 12 seconds. So whatever. By virtue of the Bengals being really bad, the Titans and the Falcons get to lose this week without going anywhere. I really don't care at the moment, do I? And the Packers. I mean, it's about over for the Packers, isn't it? It's about over for the Packers. All right, top half. Yeah, Redskins are falling. Again, just the quarterback situation and a couple straight losses, and I don't know. For the record, this team had the Redskins were like 6-3, but like their scoring differential was like +3 on like this season. So I don't know, a lot of close ones. Let's see, did that Cowboys game, was there a lead change in that Cowboys game? Because that would have been the second Redskins game this season that had a lead change. Yeah, the Redskins are 6-5 now with a point differential of -9, which I mean it's not atrocious, but I don't know. Trying to see if there's any like other really noteworthy point differentials, but no. And here's one for Sumitra. Yeah, in the whole AFC, 3 of the top 5 worst scoring differentials are the Dolphins, the Bills, and Jets. It's like, come on. All right, so what else we got here? Seahawks and Cowboys. Yep, these are the big risers in the NFC at the moment. Both playing fantastic. Seahawks beat the Packers and the Panthers last couple weeks to really move themselves up. Always good to beat teams you're competing for wild cards with. Those are always the biggest games. And the Cowboys obviously on their 4-game tear and beating the Saints. Gonna move them significantly up. Panthers with the 3-game losing streak. Again, I still have fair enough confidence in the Panthers. Yeah, it's been a tough couple weeks for them schedule-wise, and I don't know, Graham Gano-wise, but they'll be fine. And Andrew Luck looks good. The Broncos look good. We'll see how they get on the next couple weeks. Making this playoff push, not too much has changed near the top. I do give the Rams the benefit of the doubt, move them up to number 1. I know they lost to the Saints, but even after they lost to the Saints, I believe I tweeted that I still thought the Rams were probably the Super Bowl favorites. I think that's probably still the case. I think they just have probably a little more talent. Just need to get that defense together. Saints, Chiefs, Chargers moving up. Really love the Chargers. The Steelers, I should say 7-3-1. I always make one mistake on these power rankings every week, and it annoys me, but there you go. I think it was really funny. Like Tony Romo, I was listening to the commentary. Tony Romo said at one point, like in the first half of that game against the Broncos, that he thought the Steelers were the most complete team in the NFL on both sides of the ball. And then they proceeded to lose, which is funny to me. Also, like, clearly it was the Saints at this point in the season, and it probably still is the Saints, if we're being honest. But I just think the Rams will probably, especially now that they have the home field advantage, I think they're I slightly favor them. That's what I'm trying to say. And yeah, this group of the Bears, the Patriots, and the Texans, like there's no movement for like teams like the Texans that have won like 8 in a row. But trust me, like we got the top 8 teams, and then we got a bit of a cliff before we head into the next group. And then we got 9 through like 15 or so. And then actually it's pretty broken down by quartiles at this point. Like I think all the Q1 teams could probably beat each other. And they're all definitely better than the Q2s, which could all probably beat each other, which are all probably better than all the Q3s. Like a lot of the times there's a lot of like, you find groups of teams like between like, I don't know, some weeks it's like anyone between like 15 and 20, like, take your pick on where you want to place them. But I think they fit pretty neatly into actually these groups of 8 this week, which is slightly unexpected, but I'll take it. All right, that's the power rankings. Gonna head into the week 13 predictions. Try to get this in by 9 o'clock. Of course, we'll have questions at the end, but try to pace myself a little bit. So you see the last week straight up was pretty good. The spread wasn't, but that's what happens when you flip coins. It's kind of funny. I mean, since I'm not actually putting money on these games in Vegas or anything, like, I don't know. At some point, you just say, like, how much work you really want to put into it when you're basically flipping coins. But, yeah, pretty good on the season, actually. We've worked our way up in both the spread and straight up the last 5 or 6 weeks or so. I think I've been much better. If I take my last 6 weeks compared to the first 6 weeks, I think I've been, like, way better. But I guess I'd have to look at that. But anyways, let's get some. Of course, there was this one, Saints Cowboys, and like just about everybody, I thought the Saints were going to win, and they did not. So we'll move on. Ravens Falcons. I said a little earlier, I'm still not completely sold on Lamar Jackson and the new look Ravens, and I am going to put a little money where my mouth is right after I say I'm not putting money on it, but I'm putting some hypothetical money on this one. Taking the Falcons. I think this team is just way too good to only be 4-7, man. I don't know. I like him. I like him to take this one. Broncos at Bengals. This is funny. Teams with the same record. The road team is favored by 5, and of course they are, because the Broncos literally lost 2 games to the Chiefs, to the Rams. I think their first one to the Chargers, all by like a touchdown or less, and they were leading for a lot of the game in a lot of those games. And it just felt like these guys were getting so unlucky. They had a field goal to win it against the Texans, and they missed. That's like 5 losses against teams that have at least 8 wins. Like, come on. And now the rest of their schedule is actually super favorable to go 9-7, we'll say. So I think this Broncos team is at 5-6 is so much better than the 5-6 Bengals team, especially with Jeff Driscoll. Like, it's kind of funny how much better I think one 5-6 team is than another 5-6 team. It's a good question. How well has Bradley Chubb played? Well, he's got 9 sacks. I have not been paying too close attention to him, admittedly, but wow, he looks like he's been a monster. Just looking at the stats on him. Jeez, 11 games, he's got 9 sacks, 13 quarterback hits, 41 tackles. Looks like he's had a great rookie season. All right, so yeah, pick here. Yep, Broncos, taking that. Rams, Lions. I was really hoping they would get a little overeager and say like Rams by like 14 or something, so I could take the Lions against the spread. But nope, 10 is about where I think it should be. It's a very tough one for me to pick. I will edge it to the Rams, 31-20, because Matt Stafford has just really struggled this season. Crucial interceptions late against the Bears in that Thanksgiving matchup. I don't know. They paid him a lot of money, and they wanted to get a little more than this, you'd think. Cardinals, Packers, I'm not going to waste your time. Don't think they'll win by quite 14, but, they'll win easily. Browns, Texans, like always. I can't quite pick the Texans to win against the spread because, I don't know, but just keep on rolling, Houston, and don't worry about it. 9 straight. Yeah, I'll take that. Colts-Jaguars. They played a very close game about 3 weeks ago. And Colts, was that a London game? I don't even know. Maybe? I don't think so. But the Colts won that one by 3, came back in the second half. I think it'll be a bit easier for them this time. 28-22 will be my call on this one, and I don't know. I felt like putting 22. 20-23 is a boring score. I don't know. Someone will miss an extra point, or they'll go for 2 for unknown reasons. I don't know. Bills-Dolphins. Almost got myself to pick the Bills, but nah, still just can't do it. Sorry, Bills. Dolphins did look pretty great. They were up like 14 or whatever against the Colts last week, and then they threw it. Giants-Bears. So, again, it does look like Chase Daniel will stay at starting quarterback for the Bears this week. That is not quite enough to make me skew this one towards the Giants. Come on now. 23-20 is going to be my call here. Panthers-Bucks. Bucks are a little banged up. Jameis Winston's done great since replacing Fitzpatrick, who replaced Jameis, who replaced Fitzpatrick, who replaced Jameis. In this stint, Jameis Winston has looked pretty good. But the Panthers, I think, will get back on the winning track in this one. 28-24. Chiefs-Raiders, again, not going to waste your time. And this time I will take them against the massive spread. Sorry, Chucky. Jets and Titans. This is one the Titans have had a really rough last couple games since they beat the Patriots, and everyone suddenly thought the Titans were good. Newsflash, Titans probably are not good. Still good enough to win this one, but 7.5 I think is a lot. So I'll say 26-20. This is the big one, Vikings-Patriots. Well, one of the big ones. The real big one I think is going to be the next game, the Steelers-Chargers. But this is definitely a very important one for the Vikings to try to stay in position for that wild card. I do not think they'll get it, but I ultimately do think the Vikings will probably still take a wild card. Or no, I don't. Did I totally skip the Vikings when I was making my NFC wildcard picks? Because I said the Seahawks and the Panthers, and I said they were going to get over the Eagles. Did I totally forget that the Vikings were also in wildcard contention? Maybe I did. But I think I would still probably take the Seahawks and the Panthers just because the Vikings' schedule is brutal. And they'll probably finish. I think they'll finish 8-7-1, and I don't think that'll be good enough. But regardless, Patriots 28-24. Not wasting your time on this one. Seahawks big. Chargers Steelers. This is going to be a fantastic matchup. But I really love the Chargers as of late, and I like Phillip Rivers to keep that momentum going, take it 30-27 in a close game. Then finally, no tease on this one, just straight up. I think if the Eagles are going to turn into a Super Bowl team again, they're going to need a big win. And why not just have a nice game against the Redskins? And, I think it's a good opportunity for them to get back to 500. So I like the Eagles to take a strong win, 28-16 over the Redskins on Monday night. And for the next couple minutes, you know what time it is at the end of the show. Got any questions for me on anything? Football, college football, and I've done a lot of writing and a lot of research into college football, college basketball, NBA basketball. Talk about something other than football and basketball, Connor. All right. God, I don't know. Soccer, Champions League. I don't know. But if you got anything, here is the time. And I'll hang around for just a minute. The The Houston Rockets are up 36 points on the Spurs at the end of 3 quarters. That is devastating. Wow. Monster game for Clint Capella. 27, 12 rebounds, and 4 blocks on 12 of 16 shooting with 8 offensive rebounds. Wow. UT win? Yeah, why not? Beat him once. Let's do it again. I think it's going to be very close, just like the first game. Yeah, again, another one of those last possession wins games. But yeah, why not? UT, let's go. Talk about chess. All right, everybody. Magnus Carlsen defended his World Chess Championship for the 3rd time. So he's now a 4-time world champion over the American Fabiano Caruana. They played 12 games of traditional chess. They drew all 12. Traditional chess is dead. And then they went to some blitz games, or not necessarily blitz, but I forget the technical term for it. But they went to some quicker paced games where Magnus Carlsen is far, far, far superior to anybody else in the world, and he pretty much wiped the floor 3-0 and took the World Chess Championship. Kind of a shame that it had to be played in this format, but also for Magnus, if you know you're the best player at the shorter or the faster paced chess matches, then it's a perfectly viable strategy if you know that is the tiebreaker to just play for ties in all the other matches and just take it to where you're most comfortable. And that's kind of the way Magnus was playing most of this World Series or World Championship, was just kind of, playing very conservatively. He had some advantages, especially in Game 12, to really, try to put some pressure on, but backed off and played to his strengths. And, well, it worked out for him. Yeah, there's been a lot of talk back and forth. I mean, you would know, probably. Just tons of debate on Magnus's decision. So basically, he was up a lot on time and had a favorable position on the board, but he offered a draw in that favorable position in Game 12. So I'm in the camp of it's probably a mistake. I think it's pretty close, actually, if you consider. Well, my problem is he's basically never going to lose that game if they continue playing. So I think it can only increase his chances because, what if he's still 75% to win in the speed games? But even if Game 12 draws 80% of the time, Magnus probably wins the other 20%, basically. And actually, I'm not sure even if he had that high of a chance of winning the match, but he probably. I mean, yeah, he had him on the run. You're right. So I think one of the main things is obviously he's more comfortable. He could save a couple hours, just mental exhaustion, mental taxation, and get himself a day of rest to practice. In a format he's very comfortable in, and a format he's been pretty dominant over Caruana in the past. So ultimately, I don't think it's a terrible decision, but whatever. I mean, I would have liked to see him go for it because I think we all would have, but whatever. And you'll see a lot of people defending his position, which is, I think, I mean, obviously you can make the argument because so many people that know a lot more than me are making the argument, but whatever. Magnus Carlsen's good at chess. All right, a few more quick questions. NBA MVP at the quarter-way mark. There are a lot of guys. I don't think we have, and you can correct me if you think you've got a guy, but there are a lot of guys that I think could be in this conversation. Here's the problem. James Harden is definitely up there, but the Rockets are 10-10 or something. So the Rockets are not good enough for him to win the award. Despite the fact he's leading the league with 31 points per game right now. Same thing. A lot of people will say it should be LeBron every year, and LeBron is having another LeBron year, like we expect him to. Still have not seen the drop off for LeBron. But the Lakers are not good enough to win the MVP. You're right. Joel Embiid has been unbelievable looking at his stats. And I did look at stats a couple days ago, and I was like stunned because I did not realize he was this great. But Joel Embiid's averaging 28 points per game, over 13 boards, 4 assists, 2 blocks. He's just an animal. Jeez, he's taken over 10 free throws per game. The question, of course, will then become, are the Sixers good enough for him to win the MVP? And actually, they probably are. Joel Embiid is probably, it's tough to say if he's the front runner because, again, it's so crowded. But he's definitely up there, man. He's definitely up there. Dude is crazy. Yeah, I don't know. Like Giannis could also be up there. I think seeing how the Warriors have played, and this might be, I don't know if this is controversial or not, but seeing how the Warriors have struggled without Steph Curry, like with him they were like 10-2, and without they're like 6-6 or something. And considering he had an unbelievable start to the season, like before he missed the last dozen games or whatever he's missed, he was by far number one in my opinion. So if he can maintain that kind of output for the rest of the season, which is going to be, of course, very hard to do, or something similar to it, and the Warriors, just finish with the best record in the league again, or 65 wins or something. I think you have to talk about Curry again. And I think in that case, now we're getting to the point where he almost might be missing too many games that it hurts him. But in general, if he just missed that 4-game losing streak and he came immediately back and it's like, well, the Warriors went 0-4 without him, like that is more proof of how important he is. I think Steph Curry is way more important to that team than Kevin Durant, regardless of what you want to say about if he's a better player or not. Why not just give it to Ron Baker? I think he deserves it. Ron Baker for MVP. James Harden, by the way, is also leading the league in steals, 2.5 per game. So I don't know. My answer for who's the MVP, it could be a lot of people. I think it's way too early. Do the Rockets make the playoffs? Says that, yeah, they do. Because we're like 20 games in. And they've already had some injuries. But they've come back, and come on. I mean, the NBA Western Conference right now is like ridiculous. Right, number 1 seed is the Clippers, and number 2 are the Nuggets. Those were the 9 and 10 teams that missed the playoffs last season. I do think they'll both make the playoffs this season. But we have, the Rockets right now are 14th in the West at 9-11. Is that registering for anybody else? The Rockets are about to beat the Spurs. So the Rockets and the Spurs will fall to 14th. It'll be a tie, obviously. The Spurs will fall to 14th in the West at a 10-11 record, which as of now is good to make the playoffs in the East. Enough said. Enough said. How good is the Western Conference? I do think the Rockets will make it eventually. Do you want me to list 8 teams? Well, I'm going to force myself to. All right. In no particular order, Clippers, Nuggets, Warriors, Thunder, Trailblazers, Lakers, Rockets, Jazz. That's 8. I'm leaving out Luka Doncic and the Mavs. I'm leaving out Minnesota. I'm leaving out New Orleans. But there's so many good teams. Everyone but the Suns is decent. So some good teams are going to miss out. That's just how it is. All right. I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you all for tuning in to this show. I've had a lot of fun. I hope you've had fun too. As you can see, the next show will be Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central. I say this every week. Feels like half the time these last month or two, I'm having to pull an audible and do it on a Friday or a Saturday. But, sometimes school stuff happens, and when school is happening, school comes first, show comes second. But we do get it in every week as always. Just 4 more weeks of direct snap, and then I don't know. Maybe I guess we'll probably do it for the playoffs too, but we'll see when we get there. But of course, I've been Connor Groel as always. For Top Level Sports and Direct Snap, I am signing out. Thanks for tuning in, and see you next week.